What's going on, everyone? In this short video, I want to tell you a story about how you can position your marketing in a way that gets a lot more people to respond to it, independent of whether you may like it or not. And so when I was starting out, right, I struggled to get people to buy what I knew would help them, right? So when I started in fitness, I wanted to say, hey, there's a sustainable way to look the way you want to look. You just need to learn how to count your macros and do resistance training. And if you do that, you look the way you want to look. But for whatever reason, my marketing that talked about that, because I knew it was true, didn't get people to respond, right? And I didn't get any new customers, even though I knew I was saying the truth, right? And later on in my career, before I learned this lesson, I was doing marketing for a dentist, and I was running ads, and we had landing pages that we had built, and it was working. And he called me up furious, and he was like, "This looks horrible. This is terrible for my brand. I would never sign up for something like this." And I was like, "Well, it's a good thing that you're not your customers. You already have nice teeth, right?" And so the story that drove this home for me was a story that's become famous in our community called the ham and the garlic. And so the way the story goes is there was a little kid, and he was incredibly excited to please his dad, right? And his dad one day decides to give him a dog and says, "Listen, son, you got to take good care of this dog, and if you don't take good care of the dog, then it means you're not responsible. All right, so you got to take good care of it if we're going to buy it." And he says, "Okay." So he gives him the dog. And so one day the dad goes to work, a couple weeks later, and the kid sees the dog, he's playing with him, and he notices he's got ticks all over him. And he's like, "Oh my God," and he's super distraught. And he's like, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do?" And so he runs over into the other room, who's grandmother, who's looking after him while his dad's at work. And he says, "Grandma, like, what do I do? The dog's got ticks all over him." And the grandma says, "Mijo, you just have to give the dog some garlic. All right, so go feed him some garlic, and then the ticks will go away." And so the kid goes and he tries to feed the dog garlic, and the dog's moving his head because it smells like garlic. He doesn't want to eat it, right? And so he goes back to the grandmother and says, "Grandma, I tried the garlic. It didn't work. What do I do?" And she says, "Mijo, did you just try and give him the garlic straight up?" And he's like, "Yeah." He says, "Mijo, you have to wrap it in ham. Wrap it in ham first, then feed it to the dog." And so he's like, "Okay." So he wraps it in ham and goes to the dog eats it, and then an hour later, the ticks start crawling up the wall because the dog starts, sweating out garlic, whatever, right? And the kid feels saved because the dog is taken care of and the dad still is proud of him, etc. But the moral of the story is that you have to give people what they want in order to give them what they need. And so many times people are not at the perspective from which they don't have the perspective, they don't have the context to understand what you're saying because you're already in the know. And so you have to go back in time to before you knew what you know now, and meet people where they're at, and then walk them across the bridge to where you need them to go. And so when we started marketing fitness, we would market, short duration challenges, detoxes, things like that, because we knew that people who were in that state of mind, what they want is a quick fix, right? And so what we would have to do is we'd bring people in, we'd give them what they want to get them to respond, and then once we earned their trust, we said, "Hey, I know you had we had some success in this first few weeks, but you're not here just for a few weeks because you don't want to gain it back, right? Of course not, right? You really want this to be a long-term thing, because if you lose it and gain it back, what's the point?" And they're like, "Yeah." And it's like, and at this point we said, this is the garlic. What you need to do is you need to learn how to count your calories. You got to learn how to eat macros, and you got to learn how to train for real. All right. And so when we had that, we now had the context to have the truthful conversation with them and deliver the garlic, right? But it took the ham to get them in the door. And so right now, you may have something that you're trying to market in your business, and you're trying to get new customers in the door, and you're marketing from a position of already knowing the answer. And that's the issue. And you may shake your fist at these other marketers, your competitors. They're like, and you're like, "Man, they're marketing short duration things. Or they're marketing these whatevers," right? But they're probably marketing it because it's working for them. And so I'd encourage you to shift your perspective from saying, "This is the truth," to "This is their truth right now. And I need to meet them where they're at. I have to go back across the bridge to where I used to be, talk to them in that language, relate to them, understand their problems and their fears, and then once I've convinced them to trust me enough, then deliver the garlic to them." So you have to give them what they want, in order to give them what they need. And this is in essence what a lot of great marketing is, especially if you have any type of business that has any sort of transformation that you're delivering. Anything that the other person has to take some steps towards you in order to be successful. And so that story's always stuck with me because it applies to any type of coaching or mentor-mentee relationship, or really anything that you're marketing to the public where you need them to break a belief in order to consume your service, or get the result that you need them to have, right? Or that they really need for themselves. And so many times you can't begin with the end. You can begin with the end in mind, but you do not begin with the end. You have to start where they're at and then take them along the journey the same one you did so that they can get to where they want to go, which is where you know is going to be the best place for them. So anyways, I hope this was valuable for you. If you like that, I'm sure there's buttons and things that you can click and learn more and all that stuff. But anyways, keep being amazing. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you soon. Bye.